Hold up, American travelers. Before you book that dream vacation, let's talk about the real destinations that might slam the door on your red, white, and blue passport in 2025. Shocked? You shouldn't be. While US passport power ranks high, there's a hidden list of nations where freedom isn't a free pass. We're not talking mild side-eye here. Think full-blown travel bans, visa rejections, and airport turnarounds that'll make your head spin. From shadowy political feuds to cultural landmines you'd never see coming, these countries aren't just indifferent, they're actively rewriting the rules for Americans. Here's where you come in. Smash that like button right now to help us hit 5,000 likes before the countdown ends. Every click helps expose these critical travel alerts to fellow adventurers. Consider it your good deed for global explorers everywhere. Stick around as we reveal 10, a tropical paradise that's banned more US tourists this year than expired sunscreen bottles. You'll never guess their wild reason. Want the full list? Keep watching. We're dropping truth bombs and life-saving travel hacks after this. Now let's spotlight our first restricted country, a land of golden pagodas and turbulent politics. Myanmar, home to 55 million people, has transformed from a backpacker's paradise to a geopolitical minefield for US passport holders. The 2021 military coup didn't just reshape the nation's government, it rewrote the rules for foreign visitors entirely. While temple-studded landscapes still tempt adventurous travelers, the US State Department's Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory paints a stark reality. Picture this. You'd need to navigate a 72-hour visa processing gauntlet only to arrive in a nation where hospitals lack basic supplies and checkpoints outnumber tourist hotspots. Washington's sweeping sanctions on Myanmar's junta have turned American tourists into walking political statements. Unwitting ambassadors of a diplomatic Cold War. The irony? You're more likely to encounter armed patrols than friendly Mingalabar greetings in former tourist zones. Even if you brave the paperwork labyrinth, your blue passport could make you a target for both anti-Western authorities and rebel factions alike. Stay tuned, our next entry features a Mediterranean gem where American tourists face restrictions that'll make Myanmar's hurdles look tame. Next, we venture to a land where ancient trading ports now echo with mortar fire, Yemen. This Arabian Peninsula nation, cradling 30 million citizens amidst its mountain fortresses and frankincense trails, currently tops global danger lists for American travelers. The civil war raging since 2015 has transformed what was once Arabia Felix into a fractured state where basic infrastructure lies in ruins beneath drone-scarred skies. The US travel advisory here isn't merely a warning, it's a blood-red Red Level 4 decree with explicit instructions against commercial air travel or hostage negotiation. Picture attempting to secure a Yemeni visa as an American citizen. A diplomatic obstacle course where even successful applicants face landing zones patrolled by rival militias. Those hauntingly beautiful mud brick skyscrapers of Shibam, now backdropped for checkpoints manned by factions viewing Western passports as potential bargaining chips. Washington's military footprint in regional conflicts has etched American travelers into Yemen's collective consciousness, not as tourists, but as geopolitical symbols. You'd face triple jeopardy, targeted by Houthi rebels suspicious of foreign spies, Al-Qaeda affiliates hunting Western assets, and a fractured government unable to guarantee safety in its crumbling capital. Yet the cruelest twist? Yemen's otherworldly Socotra archipelago still beckons with alien landscapes, a siren call forever out of reach behind layers of bureaucratic barbed wire and active war zones. Now we arrive at the Horn of Africa's most perilous paradox, Somalia. This nation of 15 million, with its turquoise coasts and UNESCO-listed cave paintings, has become a geopolitical pressure cooker for American travelers. The US State Department's Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory, unchanged since July 2024, isn't mere bureaucracy, it's a survival warning etched in blood-red ink. The chess game began with President Biden's 2022 troop redeployment against al-Shabaab militants, a move that's since escalated into precision airstrikes targeting ISIS strongholds in the Kalmiskat Mountains under the current administration. While Defense Secretary Hegseth touts terrorist takedowns without civilian casualties, the reality for visitors is stark. Your passport transforms into a bullseye the moment you land at Mogadishu's Aden Adda International Airport, a facility so dangerous that even embassy staff are barred from approaching. Navigating Somalia's visa process feels like defusing a bomb blindfolded. That convenient e-visa requiring 6-month passport validity and notarized affidavits? Just the first hurdle, successfully obtaining one, merely grants you entry to a nation where 2.6 million internally displaced people crowd makeshift camps And Westerners face triple threats from Al-Shabaab hit squads, clan militias, and de-Westernization camps masquerading as schools. The cruelest twist? As U.S. drones strike terrorist hideouts near Al-Kowsar, humanitarian aid freezes have left NGOs paralyzed, creating a vacuum where anti-American sentiment festers among drought-stricken communities. That vibrant Mogadishu fish market you saw in pre-war photos? Now a maze of illegal checkpoints where lost passports become ransom leverage. Even if you brave the 72-hour visa gauntlet and dodge Al-Shabaab's Westgate-style complex attacks, you're entering a nation where nearly 30% of children face acute malnutrition, a crisis exacerbated by Washington's aid restrictions. This isn't just hostile territory, it's a society unraveling under the weight of perpetual conflict where your tourism dollars fund neither recovery nor welcome, but survival. Now we turn to South America's most combustible relationship, Venezuela. This oil-rich nation, cradling one of the continent's largest populations, has become a diplomatic battleground where American travelers face collateral damage in a decades-long political war. The saga began with frozen assets and petrodollar disputes escalating into travel advisories that read like Cold War-era warnings. Securing a Venezuelan visa as an American citizen isn't merely paperwork, it's a psychological chess match. Imagine presenting documents to consular officials who view every stamp in your passport as potential evidence of espionage. Even if you conquer the bureaucratic labyrinth, you'll enter an economic twilight zone where hyperinflation has transformed simple market visits into calculus equations, and political graffiti murals serve as constant reminders of ideological divides. Caracas tells the story in microcosm, a capital where surviving expatriates cluster in fortified neighborhoods, their compounds guarded like embassies in hostile territory. Morning coffee runs double as risk assessments, with conversations in upscale cafes often conducted in hushed tones between sips of café con leche. The tragic irony? Venezuela's otherworldly landscapes, from Andean peaks to Caribbean coastlines, lie tantalizingly out of reach, their beauty overshadowed by checkpoints and suspicion. This isn't mere tourism friction, it's a nation where anti-imperialist rhetoric fuels airport interrogations and grocery store prices fluctuate faster than diplomatic relations. Those daring enough to visit often describe an unspoken hierarchy of foreignness, with American accents drawing sideways glances at best, outright hostility at worst. Stay alert. Our final entry reveals a European hotspot where American tourists face restrictions that make Venezuela's challenges look like minor turbulence. Now we arrive at North Africa's most treacherous geopolitical labyrinth, Libya. This nation of 7 million, where ancient Roman ruins stand shoulder to shoulder with bullet-riddled checkpoints, has become a real-world espionage thriller for American travelers. The U.S. travel advisory here isn't just cautionary, it's a cinematic-level warning, where kidnapping threats scroll like movie credits and civil unrest plays on permanent loop. The roots of this hostility trace back to darkened diplomatic corridors post-Benghazi, where embassy rubble became the foundation for modern travel restrictions. Picture attempting to secure a Libyan visa as an American, a bureaucratic heist requiring not just paperwork, but geopolitical contortions that would make a circus acrobat wince. That innocuous Israel stamp in your passport? Consider it a self-destruct button for your application. Landing in Tripoli today feels like stepping into a John le Carré novel rewritten by Mad Max. The official government controls barely a third of the capital's streets, while militia checkpoints metastasize faster than new visa regulations. You'll find hotel concierges doubling as crisis consultants and guided tours that resemble tactical reconnaissance missions more than sightseeing. The tragic irony? Libya's Sahara oases still whisper tales of caravan empires, their turquoise waters now guarded by warlords instead of nomads. Even history buffs chasing Leptis Magna's archways do so under armed escort, their academic curiosity mistaken for intelligence gathering. And that glittering Mediterranean coastline? A mirage of potential cruise ports now dotted with patrol boats scanning for suspicious passports. But here's the plot twist no one expects. Our final destination isn't some war-torn frontier, but a European heavyweight where American tourists face restrictions that'll make Libya's maze seem straightforward. Think you've got this figured out? Think again. Step into a land where ancient souks once traded spices and stories. Now currency of a different sort changes hands in Syria's shadow economy. This cradle of civilization, its archaeological treasures pockmarked by mortar fire, presents American travelers with a danger mosaic more intricate than any Damascus mosaic tilework. The U.S. travel advisory here reads like a dystopian novel synopsis. Kidnapping syndicates operating with state-level efficiency, checkpoints manned by factions even locals can't identify, and a capital where surviving hotels double as armed compounds. Securing a Syrian visa as an American isn't merely difficult, it's a geopolitical paradox requiring connections that could land you on watch lists back home. Damascus tells the tale in chiaroscuro, on no-listed citadels, visible through bulletproof convoy windows, the scent of jasmine coffee mingling with cordite at safe zone cafes. That hauntingly beautiful Umayyad mosque, its courtyard now echoes with the footsteps of minders documenting your every interaction. Washington's sanctions regime has forged a reality where your tourist dollars fund neither restoration efforts nor local artisans, but survival economies tied to black market warlords. Even fluent Arabic speakers find their credentials questioned, with casual inquiries about Palmyra's ruins misinterpreted as intelligence reconnaissance. The cruelest twist lies in timing. Cross into regime-held territories during rare ceasefire windows, and you'll witness archaeologists racing against militia encroachment to document 4,000-year-old tablets, while simultaneously avoiding drone surveillance tracking foreign movements. But our final destination upends all expectations, a place synonymous with freedom itself, now rolling up the welcome mat for American passport holders. Think you've predicted this geopolitical plot twist? The reality will rewrite your travel playbook. Picture a travel advisory so severe it reads like a spy thriller's disclaimer. Welcome to Afghanistan, where American passports transform from golden tickets to crimson targets overnight. This isn't mere bureaucracy, it's survival calculus in a nation where geopolitics and grave risks intertwine like barbed wire. With 38 million citizens navigating a fractured landscape, Afghanistan's relationship with American travelers resembles a shattered mirror, countless dangerous fragments reflecting decades of conflict. The U.S. State Department's Level 4 Do Not Travel warning, reaffirmed just 8 weeks ago, isn't hypothetical. It's a live fire alert, where wrongful detention rates have surged 200% since the Taliban's 2021 takeover, and kidnappings now follow predictable patterns tied to drone strike retaliations. Securing entry here isn't just paperwork, it's a high-stakes gamble. That required Afghan visa, a mirage for most, requiring connections to Taliban-approved fixers and documents vetted by ministries that no longer officially exist. Arrive without one and you'll face not just deportation but fines calculated in blood, money exchange rates. Even seasoned diplomats tread carefully, with the U.S. Embassy shuttered since 2021 and consular support rerouted through Qatar's opaque channels. Beneath today's dangers lies a century of fractured diplomacy. Formal relations began in 1921 with King Amanullah's progressive reforms, but 2025 finds American travelers caught in the debris of wars both hot and cold. The 2001 invasion targeting Al-Qaeda created generational resentments. Echoed in February's tense prisoner swap that freed contractor Ryan Corbett after 894 days of captivity, Taliban spokesmen now frame such exchanges as normalization theater, even as their checkpoints profile Westerners for interrogation techniques unchanged since the Soviet era. The cruel paradox? Afghanistan's cultural jewels, Herat's minarets, Bamiyan's cliffs, still whisper to archaeologists and adventurers, but reaching them means running a gauntlet of insurgent patrols and aid worker traps, where a misplaced selfie could tag you as CIA reconnaissance. Meanwhile, Kabul's surviving hotels double as armed compounds, their room service menus offering evacuation insurance alongside kebabs. This geopolitical tinderbox barely scratches the surface of America's global travel blacklist. Next up, a European ally now treating U.S. passports with Cold War-era suspicion. Think you've guessed which NATO nation's turning away Americans? The answer will rewrite everything you know about friendly borders. The relationship between Iraq and American visitors remains entangled in the aftermath of the 2003 US-led invasion, which dismantled Saddam Hussein's regime but unleashed insurgencies and institutional fractures still shaping the nation today. For U.S. passport holders, modern Iraq presents a duality of bureaucratic labyrinths and security perils, where even routine travel demands navigating a minefield of historical tensions. Eric's visa system epitomizes this contradiction. While Americans can obtain entry visas at airports like Baghdad or Erbil, departing requires surviving an exit gauntlet, chasing stamps from obscure offices, settling arbitrary overstay fines, and deciphering shifting regulations. The semi-autonomous Kurdistan region's e-visa system promises streamlined 90-day stays, Yet approvals drag for weeks, and sudden policy changes like mandatory customs declaration papers add layers of confusion. These hurdles mirror deeper systemic fractures, blending post-ISIS reconstruction struggles with ingrained distrust of foreign motives. Security risks amplify the challenges. Iraq's Level 4 U.S. travel advisory, active since 2024, warns of terrorism, kidnapping, and armed conflict as insurgent networks evolve. Recent drone strikes near Baghdad's Green Zone and roadside explosives on major highways underscore persistent danger. American travelers face targeted kidnappings in Sunni regions like Anbar, militia-run checkpoints extorting document fees, and legal gray zones where accidental border crossings lead to detention. With U.S. consular services limited to Erbil and emergency support routed through Qatar, even minor crises leave travelers stranded. Local perceptions further complicate visits. In cities like Fallujah, memories of U.S. military sieges fuel bureaucratic hostility, where passport stamps trigger police interrogations. Economic disparities sharpen tensions. Nearly a third of Iraqis live in poverty, while sanctions on Iranian-linked groups inflame anti-American sentiment. Vendors and markets levy invasion reparations, markups, charging foreigners tenfold rates. The Kurdish north offers relative stability, but its autonomy creates fresh complexities. Standardized e-visa fees clash with border guards demanding under-the-table payments, and Syrian entry routes draw heightened scrutiny over PKK ties. Iraq's stance toward Americans mirrors its fractured identity, caught between courting tourism and clinging to security paranoia. As reconstruction stalls and political gridlock persists, the State Department's warning stands firm. Iraq remains a high-stakes gamble where history's ghosts and modern threats collide, turning every journey into a precarious balancing act. But the relationship between Iran and American visitors remains frozen in the shadow of the 1979 hostage crisis, when revolutionary students stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, sparking a 444-day diplomatic nightmare that reshaped bilateral relations. Decades later, the U.S. State Department's Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory, reaffirmed in August 2024, still warns of terrorism, civil unrest, and the chilling risk of arbitrary detention, particularly for dual UU Iranian nationals. With no diplomatic ties and zero consular support, Americans venturing here navigate a geopolitical minefield where ancient wonders clash with modern perils. Securing entry demands patience and precision. U.S. citizens must partner with government-approved tour operators to obtain visas, a 45-day bureaucratic marathon requiring detailed itineraries, professional resumes, and authorization codes vetted by Iranian security agencies. Even then, approval hinges on shifting political winds, with applications sometimes vanishing into opaque review processes. Successful applicants face ground rules stricter than Persepolis's ancient columns. State-assigned minders monitor movements. Hotels report foreign guests to authorities, and unscripted conversations with locals risk misinterpretation as espionage. Financial logistics add layers of complexity. International credit cards remain useless due to sanctions, forcing travelers to rely on cash or prepaid tourist debit cards loaded with Iranian rials. Markets brim with saffron and Persian carpets, but haggling requires crisp USD or euros. ATMs won't rescue the unprepared, yet beneath these modern dangers lies a land of staggering contrasts. Tehran's Grand Bazaar hums with millennia-old trade rhythms, while Isfahan's blue-tiled mosques whisper tales of Silk Road empires. Locals often extend warmth to American visitors, their hospitality undimmed by state propaganda. But this cultural richness comes with caveats. Photographing military sites risks arrest, and casual remarks about politics could trigger interrogations. As sanctions and cyber tensions escalate, Iran's travel landscape grows thornier. Rumors surface of back-channel visa schemes, but for now, the State Department's warning stands unchallenged. A relic of 1979's seismic rift that continues to shape every American footstep on Persian soil, between curiosity and survival. North Korea's relationship with American travelers remains a high-stakes geopolitical chess match where curiosity collides with draconian restrictions. The U.S. travel ban, in place since 2017, renders passports useless for North Korean entry, outside rare humanitarian exceptions, a policy forged in the wake of Otto Warmbier's tragic death. The University of Virginia student's detainment and fatal coma after allegedly removing a propaganda poster became a grim symbol of the regime's zero-tolerance approach to perceived slights. Pre-ban visits offered surreal glimpses into a curated dystopia. State-mandated tours of Pyongyang's spotless metro and model farms all under the watchful eyes of guides who doubled as informants. Conversations with locals, forbidden. Unauthorized photography, a one-way ticket to interrogation. Even laughter carried risk. Jokes about the Kim dynasty could land travelers in labor camps, their fates sealed by opaque judicial processes. Today, the few exempted Americans, journalists or aid workers, navigate a surveillance state on steroids. Minders track their every move, itineraries scrubbed of spontaneity, while cyber units allegedly monitor banned travel vloggers attempting backdoor entries. The irony? North Korea's mystique only grows. The DMZ's tense silence, the synchronized spectacle of mass games, the eerie grandeur of empty monuments. Yet this allure masks a chilling reality. One misstep here doesn't just ruin a vacation, it could erase your future. Rumors swirl of shadowy visa loopholes and diplomatic thaw, but for now, the Hermit Kingdom's borders remain sealed tighter than ever. The message is clear. Some curiosities aren't worth the cost of admission.